BigTreeTech was kind enough to send me their new SKR3 board for review. So let's go. Okay, so the box comes with this board. So you have another box.
And don't you think there's something obviously missing here? Never mind.
Okay, so inside the box you get this USB cable, and there is an amazing addition to the box. Now they're giving you the crimpable pins for your wire and the housing for it.
Okay, so firstly I'll just explain about a few components on the board. Here we have our power ports. Then we have fan 0, fan 1, fan 2. Next we have our stepper motor connections over here. And we have default jumpers installed on it. So this is X stepper, Y stepper, Z, 1, 2, extruder 1 and extruder 2. Then we have our end stop connections X, Y and Z. Then we have servo and probe connections, and we have the LED connection over here. We have the thermistor connections, the TFT connector for display, and the CAN FD connection. We have a boot button and a reset button over here. In this board we also have a Wi-Fi module support. We have USB port, fuses and a switch to control the CAN mode. We also have a jumper over here so that you can power up your board with either USB or VCC in. And this is our STM32H743VIT6 chip. Okay, so yeah, I think we have talked about most of the components on the board. Also, these boards support the open source Marlin and Clipper firmware, so you can check that out.
Okay, so this is a simple comparison table that I'll be using today to talk about the new features of SKR3 versus the features of SKR2 and SKR 1.4. Alright, so this is an up-close look of the BigTreeTech SKR3 board, which is a successor to the SKR2. SKR3 uses the STM32H743 VIT6 chip with a core frequency of 480 MHz. Now, this is definitely a high performance board for your 3D printer. It is also DIY friendly and comes with so many new amazing features. So let's talk about it.
The output current for this board is now 5 amperes, which means it can easily power up your RPI. This board also has a provision to mount an optional add-on board, which enables you to select the voltage for your fans.
Now this is great because when I was using two SKR 1.4 boards for my Voron 2.4 3D printer, I was using a 12 volt radial fan for part cooling, while the rest of my electronics was 24 volts. For that, I had to use a buck converter with rather complex wiring to have the radial fan powered at 12 volts and still be PWM controllable. With the SKR3, now you can simply select the fan rail voltage among 5, 12 and 24 volts with an optional DC module.
Okay, next they have also added the CAN FD port and a switch to control the CAN mode.
Well, when it comes to the 3D printing firmware, these boards are now designed to work with Marlin as well as Clipper firmware. Okay, so moving on to the next feature, Now SKR3 comes with some built-in jumper selectable pull-up resistors that supports PT1000 temperature sensors without any external module required for it. What this means is basically with most boards, if you want to use a PT1000 sensor for your hot end, you would have to replace the 4.7K pull-up resistor with 1K for best sensing resolution. Whereas now SKR3 allows you to select the pull-up resistor value with a jumper, allowing you to change the thermistors easily.
They also have the built-in boot 0, which makes it very easy to flash the firmware in DFU mode. This means that you don't need the SD card to flash a firmware. I have made a step-by-step video on this topic if you want to know more about the feature.
Another new feature is that they have added the Wi-Fi module for using the RepRap firmware. I think personally I've always used Clipper as my firmware, and Clipper uses RPI as its Wi-Fi module. But if you plan on using RepRap as your firmware, this is a great addition to the board. Alright, so these were the new features of SKR3 board. I think the packaging is great and the board has quite useful features added to it. Honestly, this seems to be a very thoughtful upgrade to the SKR series from BTT. Next, I'll be testing the board on my printer and post an update about it soon. Till then, bye.